So this is a video that I will probably replace in the nearish future, with a much longer video, probably like over an hour, honestly, with lots and lots of examples, a summary of the books that I'm going to talk about. But I want to just throw the concept out there because it's really important. And honestly, like this is something that I struggled with pre-anxiety cycle. And if I had not learned to fix it, I would probably still be in the anxiety cycle because it was such a big deal for me. And that is the concept of boundaries. So, what are boundaries, right? Boundaries are basically a healthy way of protecting your emotions and being able to take ownership of your emotions and let people take ownership of their emotions, essentially, right? So, to give you some examples, prior to the anxiety cycle, we had a lot of extended family boundary issues happening. And so add some kids to the picture, it only gets worse, right? And it was something that was eating me alive, to say the least. And I had a lot of issues really trying to mentally control what the other person was going to do and trying to make them happy so that they would not push back and that I wouldn't have to deal with, uncomfortable emotions and situations. And that is totally not my responsibility, right? My responsibility and your responsibility when it comes to others' emotions is to clearly state what your boundary is in a given situation. I'll give more examples in a minute, but clearly state it so they have a chance to follow your boundary. Stick to it, right? Not go back and forth because that's only makes people push back even worse. And then if somebody gets upset by what you have decided you feel comfortable with doing in your life, or giving or whatever, then that's on them and letting that be on them and using ideal to respond yourself to any of the negative emotions that come along with their negative emotions, right? So to give you a few examples, um, I'm gonna give you like my mom kid type example first. I'll give you some work examples. I'll give you some even just like commitment examples, right? So first, when it comes to being a mom, right? You're gonna deal with a lot of situations where you have to put boundaries in place. And so, for example, in our family, on holidays, specifically Thanksgiving and Christmas, our boundary is that we celebrate that holiday in our own home. We don't do house hopping because like our both of our extended family lives within an hour. So we're not going to have our Christmas and family one Christmas and family two Christmas and drag our three kids all over the place and have a stressful day to please other people. We do choose to have an open door policy where people can come into our house. Everyone's invited, but it's in our home, period, right? Does that make everybody happy? No. Is the goal of my life to make everybody happy? No, right? It's to, be loving and have grace towards people and look at my decisions and figure out, am I, you know, taking people into consideration to some extent, right? But at the end of the day, what's best for my family and what's best for your family is going to be key. So, also around holidays, even before anxiety cycle, after anxiety cycle, I tend to feel more anxious, right? More pressure around those days for some reason. And so I know that again, having a relaxed holiday in my home is going to be best for us. So that's our boundary. How do we practically communicate that boundary? It's going to look like me communicating with my side of the family, my husband communicating with his side of the family. Period. Don't mix that up because that can cause problems too, if possible, right? But I would communicate, hey guys, just so you know, this is maybe a month prior, right? And now it's more of like, like they get the point, right? But just so you guys know, we are going to be celebrating Christmas at our house, and we're not going to be driving around, traveling anywhere. You guys are more than welcome. Saturday night, we're going to go to church at X p.m. You're welcome to join us. Sunday, we're going to have dinner at X p.m. You're welcome to join us. Cool, right? And if they say, well, why can't you come over to our house? What if you come over to our house Saturday and not Sunday? No, I'm sorry. Like, this is what we've decided. I hope that you understand. You're more than welcome to join us. Also, completely understand if you want to be in your own home and do your own thing too. Totally get it. Cool. If they push back, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, stick to your guns. Another good example, because I'm about to deal with this in a couple weeks, is postpartum. So, baby number one was a disaster when it came to managing postpartum expectations from other people. And I went through really bad postpartum anxiety, depression. It sucked. And so having people in my home was not fun, right? Because what they didn't see is right before they got there, I was crying or throwing up or I felt so terrible. I don't want to have people in my home, right? It's the last thing I wanted for like a few weeks at least, right? And so after that, we had implemented very soft, poor boundaries and then not stuck to them. And so we kind of got walked all over, right? And my needs were not met. Our needs were not met to satisfy others, and that's not fair. So, baby number two, we came up with a plan and decided, okay, we'll let people in the hospital as long as everything goes well. After that, our doors are shut for at least 2 weeks. As long as my husband was off work, we wanted to get into a routine, let my hormones chill, and just not have guests. That's just not what we wanted, right? Some people do, I did not. And so we communicated that, mine with my family, my husband's with his family, and we just said, hey, here's what we're doing. Hope you understand. Yeah. And we didn't get the best replies from some of those people, and that's okay, right? What happens is, when the time rolled around, we stuck to our guns. I stayed off my phone. My husband handled it. Move on, right? Um, And then, yeah, that's really helpful. Something else. So say that it's like work and you are supposed to be off at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or whatever. And you have a really pushy boss that's like, but here's a whole project. I need you to stay and do it. And you're kind of like, but I have plans with my family. We're meeting out. My grandma's in town for dinner. And, I'm not supposed to work past this time. Then you have to say, hey, understand, happy to help with this tomorrow. But I'm working until 5 p.m. today, and I'm going to be leaving at 5 because I have pre-existing plans, again, happy to help tomorrow. And so it's implementing these things so that you're not spinning around and letting others completely railroad you and control your life. Commitments, right? So say that even good commitments like church, right? Serving in church, it can get really overboard sometimes, And so people can ask you to do something if you feel like, oh, yeah, of course I'll do it. You become the person that everyone knows will do it. And it's not always a bad thing, but if you are at your limit, there is nothing wrong with implementing boundaries. So I would say that's kind of like my short spiel on boundaries. I would really recommend you read two books. One is Boundaries by Henry Cloud. Two is Good Boundaries and Goodbyes by Lisa TerKeurst. And these are both biblically based books that kind of help you understand everything about boundaries, why they're important, how to implement them, when to implement them, when you're going overboard with them, when you're going underboard with them. And I have found this to be probably one of the most like life-changing things in my own personal life. And I'll tell you too, even here's another tiny example, right? Because these are things that would cause me stress. A couple weeks ago, I started going to a new church. My personal and my husband's, like, are what we're comfortable with is, certain regulations in the nursery. And so the regulations were met. I asked, like, to drop our baby off, our 1.5-year-old. But something that makes me more comfortable too is ask them, hey, if my baby needs a diaper change, just shoot me a text and I will come change their diaper. Okay. Is that a little weird? Is that against policy? Does it make me feel kind of weird to do that? Sure. But I don't care because I'm not going to go against things that make me uncomfortable to feel comfortable or make somebody else feel comfortable, So it's learning how to really step up confidently, state your needs lovingly and stick to them. So highly, highly, highly recommend those books. Even if you don't think you need boundaries, you probably do. So super healthy, life-changing. I hope that helps. And again, let me know on the calls if you're dealing with something that is more specific.